I hear my voice. We are there. Okay, give me 1 second, everybody. Just I'll explain things in just a minute. Obviously, we've had some issues the last couple of days, but Jade, in his infinite wisdom, just figured it out. So we are good to go. And let me just okay. And I'm almost there. Okay. What am I doing? Do you remember?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
You were sharing it to.
Yeah. I just want to pull up the comments so I can see if anybody has any questions for our beautiful beloved sister that just stepped in the door. Okay, here we go. All right, let's see. Yeah, I think we're good on the stream, so please share it out. We were getting annihilated on the algorithms right up to the point where we lost our stream or the quality of our stream. Okay, so I'm gonna have the comments sitting here. Oh, is that?
Yeah.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Well, we know we're live.
Yeah, we're live. Okay, we got it. All right, so another way to say I am souls. I'm not afraid to show my ass, so we're just not gonna make excuses or anything. We're not embarrassed about this. We're broadcasting, so we had this really cool thing happen. I've been talking to y'all in this building. There's Jade, and there's Ty, and there's Serena, and there's a few other in the crew that come in and out. But they have quite a few different offerings here. And Ty was, I believe, collaborating with this beautiful sister next to me, Leisa Peterson, right? Did I get it right? Thank God I got it right. Because I had a friend, Lori Peterson, and a friend, Laura Peterson. And that's why I kept, anyway. So, so she was meeting up with Ty, and she's been here since 2016. And Ty, in his infinite wisdom, said, hey, why don't you go next door and sit down with Todd? And the crazy thing is we had a 12 o'clock appointment, a 2, a 3, and a 4. And I was trying to find somebody for the 1 o'clock, and here you are. So we have, we got a good 30 minutes. We can get into this. So have you ever watched our show?
I haven't.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
So our show is not a typical Q&A. We've done about 2,200 episodes out of about 4,500 video productions. But I guess about half of them now have been what we call Soul Speaks 5D. It's multi-streamed normally. It's multi-streamed on 6 different pages, YouTube and Facebook. We've got about hard numbers, about 80,000 people in our community. It's been a grassroots, very organic through the years. And we probably have about 500,000 reach every week, which means it just pops up on somebody's, doesn't mean that they look at it, but and about 20% of those people, 22% will engage us, view, a like, a comment. So that's our community. It's not a typical Q&A interview. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
We're just having a conversation. It's spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative, and depending on what we're talking about or doing, courageous. So it's just a conversation we have in front of our brothers and sisters, and we've been very fortunate to be able to provide this free community service for many years. We are loved and supported and receive contributions every single day that allow us to keep doing this by the seat of our pants. So, having said all that, I just want to give you an idea of our community and welcome to our community, our little small mirror of the universe where we continue to add frequencies to an ever-expanding vibration, which we believe that's all we do. That's what the universe is, and that's what we are. We can't divorce ourselves from any aspect of the universe. So our main 2 hashtags are I am soul, and number 2 is the human is the hero. Because nothing happens until the human comes to the party and takes an equal, if not primary role in the alignment of all of our multidimensional aspects. So we were talking beforehand, and everybody knows that I have a rule that I don't talk to anybody before a show, at least the first show anyway, because I like to keep it fresh. But really, we were just sitting here as Jade was working on the tech stuff and finally getting a great job to Jade, getting it done. We were just talking, and because Ty said, you ought to go over there and check it out, which is even more intriguing because you'd never seen the show. And so, anyway, so we were just talking, and I was a little bit shocked because, first of all, she's been in a relationship for 33 years. By the way, they were both born in 1966. She met her partner in 1987, the year of the harmonic convergence, and here we are in Sedona. She's been here like about 4 years, and she's doing the work. And of course, you know me. I immediately said, "Hey, do you want to talk about divine union, sacred sexuality?" No, I'm kidding. But so
Yay!
yeah, yeah. But everything I was saying to her about triads, Trinity energy, she was lighting up, and so it was really fascinating. We traded a few stories. But anyway, so you you were born in Oakland. You went to school out there. You met your husband in college. You guys were way ahead of your time. You've been on this journey a long time. I've not met, but maybe, and I probably interviewed 40 to 50 couples. And I would say maybe 2 have been together as long as you have, which is fascinating to think that people can actually go through this together. And I'm not talking about in the last few years, like for instance me and my partner. But so I mean, did you guys? You met in 1987. When did you know, or when did you acknowledge to each other that, hey, I'm not just a human being. I'm having downloads and transmissions from Pleiades, or Kuan Yin's visiting me at night. I mean, did it happen at the same time? Does it happen together? Was it you leading the way, as in most cases with the?
Yeah, it was definitely me leading the way. I did come from a home where my dad introduced TM into our home maybe when I was 8, 9. Wow. So I started, and we were always interested in UFOs. We would go on missions on Saturday to find the end of the rainbow when I was growing up, like with shovels. Like my dad was just there.
So your dad was an ET, which means you're at least half ET. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Leprechaun.
but I lost my way. I lost my way because I decided early in life that money was everything. I literally decided that money was the pathway out of hell, which is how I saw a lot of life. I was very sensitive. I tried to commit suicide in college about a year before I met my husband. And I just said, well, if I have a lot of money, then everything will be fine. And that worked for a while, but my husband was never really motivated by money. It was all me.
Yeah.
And then in 1999, my dad was brutally murdered by his ex-girlfriend and her boyfriend. And that was, 21 years ago.
So I just want to say to you too that, wow, that's how do you even, I guess what I want to say to you is a lot of the people that are tuning in right now and that will tune in on the replay, we're the crazy ones. We've had suicidal thoughts and attempted incarcerations, estrangements from the family, from a human perspective, traumas and tragedies, so you're not alone here. Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, these people are from the same branch of the tree of life. I want to say real quick to Xana Kozar, who's been a big supporter. You've been together with your partner for 27 years. You are cordially invited to come on with Todd and have a conversation about sacred sexuality. I feel for you. You're also the mother of 2.
Yeah.
I think one's 23 and one's 15, which is a whole nother subject. These kids coming in are like, they're like, I think they're actually going to flip. And in a few years, we're going to be asking them, what do we need to do? Or maybe just sitting next to them and aligning with their frequency. But getting back to your story, and thank you for sharing that, because I know that's a very powerful personal story. When did you start to see things change? I mean, obviously you had this was a huge trauma in 99. Did you go to your husband at some point and say, hey, pal, I've just figured it out. This is what's happening, and this is where we're going. Was it like that, or was it kind of...
That sounds so nice.
Yeah.
That sounds so neat.
Well, aren't these sacred unions? These sacred unions are fluffy, love, and light all the time, aren't they?
Oh no, it wasn't like that at all. No, I immediately broke down with the death of my father, began to get involved in Buddhism. That was the thing, because I liked how comfortable Buddhism was with death, and I became completely obsessed with death. Like, I knew that if I found understanding of death, then I could continue to live, but if I didn't, then I didn't want to stick around.
Yeah.
That was what happened.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, it was meditation, years and years of meditation, and I would go away for retreats, and I wouldn't want to come home to my husband and my daughter. I just wanted to stay in that place of retreat. And I think that was the beginning of me thinking it might not work out with my husband. But he comes from this very loyal, like, we're going to make it work. And I could have flitted off, but he would always be willing to yield to what was happening for me. And at some point along the way, I said, you know, I figured out my purpose and you haven't. This is my righteous, person.
This is you telling him.
Yeah, I figured it out. You haven't done anything. And he looked at me and he said, I know my purpose, and I've known it from the day I met you. It's to serve you.
No wonder you didn't flinch when I said, I was telling her before we were talking that I've met a lot of couples, and the guys will ask me, a lot of questions because they're moving out of that distorted patriarchal imprint, and I tell them, whatever she tells you, just do it. And I know that sounds like almost like a submissive frequency, but it's not. It's, and when I said that to you, you just like, yeah, exactly. You know what I mean, and it's not like in the typical human terms, but even though it sounds like it, I remember when Morgan came the first time in 2017. We went from Texas to Arkansas to do the first local Soulogy show ever.
Yeah.
At my friend's metaphysical store, and the night before we were at this hotel, and we were standing outside, and this elderly couple walked up. Right, he must have been 80, and she must have been close to the same age, and he said something to me like, "Oh, you two really look good together," which was great for me because I'm trying to like impress her, this homeless hobo, with a dream, right, whatever, and. I said, thank you. And he said, you know what the recipe for success is in this relationship. I said, no, what is it? He said, well, rule number 1, she's always right. And I said, what's rule number 2? And he said, well, if she's not right, refer to rule number 1 and you'll be okay. So, but it's funny how things like that come in, and on the surface, they're carry a frequency that, if you get carried away, people get so carried away with the semantics and the words, but really beneath it there's at least to me, applicable in this realm. I don't know how it works outside this realm, where there might be more balance, or it might be a matriarchal imprint or something like that, but here I think that's the best advice, and not really just talking people and couples, but within ourselves. I noticed that in my relationship over the last few years, especially this year, the feminine in me, which I never could even how do you do that? How do I pull the feminine up in me? But now I'm like, okay, you have a decision to make, or you have a response or reaction to express. I run it through her being in me, So I think it's something we all kind of need to tap into. So anyway, yeah, you're kind of a forerunner's forerunner as a couple then, right? And so, as 2012 approached, how did that go? Did you start to go, this is actually going down? Did you kind of know it was always happening?
I knew it was always happening. I told you earlier that when I was a child, I heard Nostradamus's premonitions, and I knew that there was truth in what was going to happen on 9/11. And so I had a meeting in the World Trade Center on 9/11, and I was flying there. And the minute I began my trip to New York City from California, I knew something was about to happen, and it overcame me. And I think that there have been I've always had premonitions. I've been at a lot of tragic events. In fact, part of what happened was, I think I'm kind of like, I get shocked by events like 9/11. I feel into them, and then it propels me into the next step, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
it propels me forward to like learn, grow, expand, all of that. But in 2012, I was still trying to figure out how to bring all of this spiritual awareness into my work, into my passion. I love work. I love working. I love being of service to other people. And I couldn't bring them together. And I literally feel like I kind of missed 2012. Like, I was so wrapped up in how do I serve
Yeah.
that I just sort of kind of focused on other
Would you
things.
call it like a lot of people talk about in more and more every day embodying?
I wasn't embodying like I wanted to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No, but here's where it changed. In 2013, right before Christmas, I was in my doctor's office, and I knew I wanted to leave my financial career and start pursuing what we're talking about here full time. But I was scared to death. I supported my family. I felt like I had a lot of responsibility. I'm sitting in the doctor's office. A man walks into my doctor's office, looks at me, and says, "You might want to leave now," as he pulls out a very large gun, and proceeded to go on a shooting rampage in the doctor's office, killing my doctor and shooting other people. And in that experience, I literally, all the fear that I was feeling broke away. I saw that I wasn't the fear anymore. And immediately I said, if I leave this doctor's office alive, I'm going to walk away from everything and pursue what I'm here for. And that was what it took. It took these tragic, horrible situations
Jeez.
to like change my whole trajectory.
So I got to say too to everybody that I'm here talking to this beautiful beloved sister as Jade was working on the tech stuff, and you know, we talk about kindredness and recognition and resonation, but my whole back of my broader than my spine was well, it was just tickling me, or whatever you want to call it, and up into my crown. So I'm really happy that we were able to come together, and thank you, Ty. The power of the triad, right? Yeah, we'd love to get you and your husband on here, too. That'd be an excellent...
He's pretty special.
Right? Well, he must be, because you're special. So that's like, you know, and here's the thing, too. And it's no coincidences, but like, so this has been in my field the last couple of days, which has been, I guess, because I'm not a real fearful person, you know? I mean, I tend to be the other way with it. Like, where is it? Open the door and let me run through it. And that's not always been painless. But these little, I've noticed, and I guess we're all doing this, as we elevate more, you see shadow that you didn't see before, you see things you didn't see before. And one of the things that I kind of was getting to was a little bit fear-based. And it had to do with the stuff that we can't see, that we see in dimension, but we don't get that validation like we do in everyday life, where you have that see it, touch it, feel it, smell it evidence, right? The five senses. So it was just kind of out there, and I'm watching it, and then you come in with this. When you say that catastrophes or traumas have been like a catalyst for you, where did you go? Where do you go when fears pop in now? You know, how do you deal with that? I'd love to hear that, because these are extraordinary stories that you're telling.
Yeah. What I've noticed is that I can process a tremendous amount of fear, and I am built in this lifetime to allow it to come in and then release it into unconditional love.
Yeah.
And I've learned how to channel through my body, energy body, you know, all of those places. And that is what I'm built for.
Wow.
And I think that's why I needed those situations to be tested in such an extreme way, and see that I survived it. And not only that, that I can channel it into helping countless human beings be okay with their fear without having to make it wrong or bad or shadow, push it
Yeah.
away. It's
Yeah.
okay. And I'm the embodiment of that. It's okay to see fear and be with it and not have it destroy your life.
Wow. Yeah, so like what I was picking up these last 2 days was two things. One was, and this is that dialogue you have with yourself or with the universe. And I was like, people talk about triggers and they'll say, I'm over that and I'm over this and I'm just as guilty, don't get me wrong. But when they continue to bring it up, or I'm going to say when we continue to bring it up, and or when we bring it up, you can hear this, I don't want to say, what's the right word, almost like an interference in the voice. In other words, you can tell it's still active.
Mm-hmm.
You can still tell it's there. And then the second part that came in, because I thought to myself, okay, this applies to triggers. Now I'm talking about fears, right, that are popping up from a higher vantage point. So I want to keep an eye on that. And then the other thing is, in regard to that, is being able to talk about it and not being charged, like you just did, right? And I actually went to that, yesterday, I was like, okay, so what I could do is stand in front of the mirror, I could speak whatever it is and see, like I would be observing somebody else, see, and here you are, giving the perfect example of what I'm trying to talk about, yeah.
Yeah.
But do you have fears pop in now?
They do, but I've noticed the difference between collective fear processing through me and my own. And my own are pretty nominal. Most of what I process is collective fear. So I am in such a beautiful place. I mean, everything I could ever dream of having, living, experiencing, teaching
Right.
is part of my awareness now. So fear doesn't really have a place in that consciousness,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It's so beautiful. So when I do feel it, I think, I stop and I think, is this mine or is this something that I am processing for everyone? And I notice the difference.
You can notice the difference.
Yeah. And sometimes my body will hurt. I mean, it's not that I don't feel it. It's just that it's a different awareness than this is yours.
Yeah.
And you're fearing death or you're
Yeah.
fearing something. Yeah.
So you know that a big part, or maybe even the biggest part of your role, is to be a fear transformer.
Yes.
For the
Foe
collective.
destroyer.
How does a foe destroyer? I like that. How does how do things stand right now? I think 2020 has been such a phenomenal year, all across the spectrum, and and of course we don't want to beat a dead horse here, but we're talking pandemic, whatever you want to call it, COVID. We're talking quarantine, mask, ridiculous rules. I mean, it's almost like a cartoon.
Right.
Now, I've been amazed at times, okay, when I've gone out into public, and for instance, I might see somebody jogging down the street with a mask on. And I'm like, what are you doing? Or I'll see a guy on a Harley with big tattoos on huge arms wearing a leather mask over his face. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? Now, I'm not throwing rocks at anybody. Everybody's got their own journey, and I respect that. But the level of fear, because I look at it, I go, are we that conditioned that if somebody tells us to do something, we just do it? So I start examining that, and then I look, and then I just kind of back away and go, wait a minute. Whether it's out of habit and it's second nature, it's still rooted in fear.
Right.
So I guess where I'm going with this is, if you look at where we're at now, at this present moment, and since you're the faux transformer, where do you see us collectively right now? Have we been able to release some of our fear-based programming? Are you seeing the effects of our growth and our transformation in terms of the reduction of fear and the influence it has on us as you look into the collective field?
I do see that. Yes, most definitely. And I think the way I translate that in the world that I work in, because I help people with like money stories and busting through that, is that the fear, turning up the dial of the fear, has caused people to ask questions and get help and look for ways outside of their own siloed fear.
Right.
And the minute you do that, you're actually entering a phase of surrender, right? Because you're saying, I need help. And just the action, like, we lived in a society where people don't always feel comfortable asking for help.
Yeah.
But this year has invited people to do that. And I think it's amazing what's happening.
So, what I just got to ask, like, so, because we don't have a lot of time, are we going to be able to do this again, I hope?
Yeah.
With you or with you and your husband or both? But because we can do it online, we don't have to. We're leaving next week, but what I was going to say is that, like, we haven't talked much about the relationship, other than, you know, a couple of little instances. Like, where does he stand with this? Is he a practitioner as well? Does he have a job in the 3D? How does that look in your daily life?
So he is very logical, likes to have everything make sense, likes to defer to science if he can. But what he's noticing hanging out with me, right, is that it's not as simple as that. And so all I can say is he leans in, and he's actually learning at such a profound level, like, more than you'd think of someone who acts like
He just
it
doesn't.
isn't.
He kind of lives it.
He lives it. He's embodiment
So
of it.
first and foremost, the day he met you, he knew his purpose was to serve you. So that's rule number one for the transformation of the distorted masculine into the divine masculine. So I got to say that, right? And also, I guess if anything gets out of line, you just go in there and twinkle your nose and you just scare him into.
Well, it's interesting because he's an 8 and I'm a 9. So the divine masculine and divine feminine, like, there is no question that we are playing out those roles and experimenting and trying things. And we both have such humility that we understand that we don't have it figured out, but that we're willing to dance all the time with each other and laugh a lot because we don't have to know all the answers.
32, we can't anymore. 2020, it's coming in. So you remember how it used to be? You would get like a download and you have 2 weeks to integrate it. Now we get one like every 2 hours, right? And that's been a big thing too. It's like, you ask, like, what is that? Let me write it down, and it's like, you're just going to get it when you need it, kind of thing. So like, and I guess, like, in terms of your frequency, I know everybody's different. Everybody has different clairs. Have you had, on a personal level, like, dimensional experiences, visitations, all the above?
Yeah,
basically?
So I'm clairaudient and always have been, and clairsentient. But 2017, I was in Hawaii, and I was doing some deep hypnosis with a client on a retreat that I was hosting. And when we cleared all the space for her, that's when I got the big connection into Atlantean, like, welcoming me. And the ocean started telling me why I was here and what I was supposed to do.
Now, when it comes to your husband, how do you, because I've talked to so many couples, and I know, like, Morgan and I are fairly unique in that we experience joint dimensional, interdimensional, and even physical experiences where there's apparitions or whatever. But I've talked to a lot of couples that are similar to yours, where he has his purpose is to serve her. He is black and white, engineer type, accountant type, like straight lines, and logical, and she's bewitched. But I'm fascinated by. Do you talk to him about these types of things, and what's his reaction?
Yeah, I do tell him about it. I always have to preface it like, you're not gonna probably believe this, but here goes. And he listens, and he has no idea what to do with it, but he never says you're wrong. He never says that can't be true. He listens, and he knows it's part of my story, and that I don't make shit up. So he's very respectful of it. And I think also what touches him is people come, probably like you, from all over the world to spend time with me, and they tell him what's happened as a result of being in my community. And that has a bigger impact than me just talking about things. I think when someone comes and says, I want you to know what's going on here, he's like, okay.
What does she do? Just twinkle, twinkle, twinkle. Let me show you. This is how I wash the dishes, right? Yeah, that's pretty powerful, but I think at some level, you can't, I mean, especially only seeing one side of the two, but you know they're, you know, in the true literal cosmic reality that you're the same frequency.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying is, at some level, intuitively, he must know.
He must know
at all times.
He must know.
Yeah.
Because we're just such partners, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a different level than just the 3D, right? So,
I mean, that totally would reinforce his, if he ever doubted his purpose since the day he met you, right? I love the way he put that too, because if I think about my own situation, that's how it went. It may not have been, and I had moments where, you know, she would call me up and tell me ABC, and I'd hang up on her. But then I'd go for a walk, and she would pop in my face and would never leave. Mm-hmm. So there was everything from the point I met her was like what he said. Mm-hmm. It was kind of an unconscious, innate, mm-hmm. Knowing that this fulfills the equation. Like, I got to do my part, which is so important now, because that feminine energy, as you know, has been suppressed for so long. Mm-hmm. And have you felt a greater push to come out this year and spread your wings a little bit more and?
Well, yeah, because I had a book come out, and I had to back in January, I knew the book was being published, and I started having anxiety attacks because I was like, the world isn't ready for this book. They're not going to understand it. And then COVID hit, and I was like, the book knew. The book knew when it was supposed to come out. It came out in July.
Yeah.
And totally. I have had to, when you take the things that are the deepest, most intimate thoughts inside of you, your experience, your human experience, and share them with the world, that takes guts and bravery that I didn't even know I had. Yeah. And that's what this year has been about.
Well, you
for
were
me.
Assisted, though, too.
So, yeah.
And that's cool, though.
Yeah.
So what I know we've got to get to the next show, but God, I wish we could have gone longer, but I'm going to get your information.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, God, what the hell was I going to say? I can't remember now. But I'm glad that you are spreading your wings, and I'm excited to meet you, and I look forward to collaborating with you more, and to have you and your husband come on and talk about that, and at some point in one of those conversations talk about sacred sexuality.
I love that. We can make him really uncomfortable, and it'll be awesome.
Well, I'm all for it. Everyone knows I got no filter. Believe me. But I'd be interested, because Morgan was just telling me last night. She was telling me that she's getting more and more people that are writing to her, and they're saying, because she's like a unicorn, she doesn't like to come on, that they'd really like to hear more about the goings on and the ins and outs of our relationship, as well as the topic of sacred sexuality. Because I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I totally do.
I can tell already.
It just gets better and better and better, just so you know.
The last question. So on the topic of sacred sexuality, kind of marrying that with how does he deal with living with Samantha from Bewitched. There's a lot of higher frequencies that come through when the hearts are aligned in a sacred sexual vibration scenario. There's no way, and I don't know your story, but there's no way I can see, regardless of what somebody's definition of whether he's woke or not woke or he whatever, he's got to be sensitive to these things that occur.
Mm-hmm.
It must blow his mind. I would think.
I think so. Yes.
Now, this is going to be the top show of all time, 2,200 episodes when we get her on. I'm just anxious to see whether it's going to be with him and her, or she's going to just be up here talking about it. So yeah, right on. So thank you so much. This is what I was going to say. So what's the name of your book? What's the name of your book?
The book is called The Mindful Millionaire.
The Mindful Millionaire. And general topic?
It is about eliminating scarcity, opening yourself up to prosperity, and creating the life you really want to live.
Okay. And how can people find it?
So it's on Amazon. I recorded the audiobook on Audible and all the major booksellers. Yeah, it's
Okay, cool.
published worldwide. So.
Okay, cool. Very cool. Well, it's a pleasure meeting you. It's
you.
an honor sharing space with you. And I look forward to doing it again. So we're going to cut this one off. And thank you, Jade, for getting this all fixed. And we've got we got 3 more shows coming up, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 5 minutes, something like that.